There have been plenty of times when I'm making content and working on a video, thumbnail, all types of stuff that I'm trying to figure out how to make it better. And a lot of those times, I find that the simplest things make it so much better than the work that goes into it. And for you, you may experience times where you're like, there's something missing to this content. There's something missing to this thumbnail, this text, or whatever. And one of the things that I really enjoy using and making things pop a little bit more is beveled edges. It's a very simple concept and it's used all the time, but I'm going to show you a couple of ways how I use them and see if it will help you make those images, make those texts that much better and pop a little bit more. So back to beveled edges or something like that. If you've seen you've probably seen it. You have seen it. Beveled edges reminded me of deviled eggs for some reason. That's why I made the thumbnail being me serving up some beveled edges because it sounded like deviled eggs. You know what I mean. Just a bad pun, and now I paid off that joke that I had at the beginning of February with my chef's hat. And probably the only reason why I bought it. So back to beveled edges. What we are going to do here is we're going to talk about what are they in the physical world and in the digital world, and then we'll talk about how to use them on your content. So beveled edges, more commonly known as like a routed edge in the physical world. So like if you think of a piece of molding on your wall, on the edges of the wall, like the tapered end, that's basically what a beveled edge or a bevel edge is. In the digital world, beveled edges is the same concept, except it kind of like brings everything, it kind of like makes it almost 3D, not like totally 3D, but it makes the image or the text pop. And that's exactly what we're going to do today, where I'm going to show you how I use it and something that I don't see a lot of people do in their content, meaning in their thumbnails. All the thumbnails on YouTube are straight edges. There's nothing wrong with that, but I thought, hey, let's put a beveled edge on the thumbnail itself, on the actual border of the thumbnail, and see what happens. And what I noticed is, and if you've noticed this very subtly, probably even if you're just glancing at it, you don't notice it, but in my mind, I think it sticks out. I really do think it's very different, and I'm probably not the first person to do this, and I'm probably not the one to bring upon this crazy idea, but I don't really see it. I notice it on mine, and when you go down, maybe it's more appealing and more catching to the eye. I could be wrong, but we'll see. Try it out and see if it maybe helps you. I don't know if it will, and I don't know if it's really helping me, but it looks cool, so I'm going to keep doing it. So we're in Affinity right now, and this is my editing software for my photos and my images and all types of thumbnail stuff. I really make all my thumbnails in here, and I'm sure there's a equivalent in Photoshop and all other types of editing softwares. It's not a very uncommon thing, so just keep a lookout. It should be bevel edges. In this case, it's bevel and emboss or emboss. Sure, emboss. I like to say emboss because I'd like to add letters. Also, it has bro in it for some reason. That's funny. Maybe just to me. So, what we're going to do here, we're going to be opening up a thing. You know, a thing. That thing. Let's go into the backgrounds and we'll talk about the edge of a thumbnail. And I'll first take a blank image and show you how it works. Then I'll show you one of my thumbnails I've had in the past and show you how I did it with that, just to put it into context. So, we'll take a dark background. Let's do this red one. And this is my template for a background. I have a bunch, and I'm building the library every time I make a thumbnail. So I just clicked it, and it defaults to 75% opacity and 5 pixels. I assume that's 5 pixels of the border around. And you can make the radius however you want. A little less, a little more. And you see how it gets kind of like blended in that rounded edge like we were talking about before. So as you can see here, there's a little bit of differences. Now, if you give it all the beans, like 100%, you notice that the light areas get this glossy kind of look to it around the edge. The dark areas, on the other hand, don't necessarily get it, but they get a little bit of pop. Like, you notice it a little bit. So I usually play it, but like for my this is for my thumbnail edges. I usually keep it around 11 or 12. I like that little subtle edge. And if you noticed in my videos and if you noticed in the thumbnails, this is what makes it pop. You could go a little bit more, like if you want to go to 15. Maybe I go to 15 sometimes. Usually it's between 12 and 15. So that's a good rough starting point. Now, that's not all that goes into it. If you don't want it that shiny, you can lower the opacity, or if you want to make it more shiny, it gives it more of that gloss, that shine of light on it there. Obviously, you see that the light is shining here, and then there's less here, but the more you increase that light, the more you see like that shadowy edge around the darker areas too. But if you wanted to take off a little bit and kind of just have a more natural look, like more of the color, you would lower it down and you see how the glossiness is getting taken away. But the edge is kind of still there, a hint of the edge. I usually keep it around 70, roughly. It's not too much and it's not too little. You have the nice edge and things like that. Maybe sometimes I go up to 80. But after that, it gets a little too shiny for my likings. But if that's up to you, that you decide on how much you want. But like for example, let's put this one at 80. It's a little much for me, so I'll put it down to 70 now. See, it's very, very subtle, very small difference, but it's all about your taste and what you like. And this is just to make it pop a little bit more. I seriously do not know if it actually makes a difference with people catching people's eye. But I'd like to think so. I mean, I notice it's mostly because I did it, but that's really just my opinion. So let me know down in the comments if you notice a difference here, and take a look through my thumbnails and my videos and see if you notice if they, when you do in the search bar, compared to other videos that don't have that, see if you notice if it pops a little bit more, or maybe it catches your eye a little bit more. Let's use this with text. And this can be used with any layer. So you see I have this layer selected, and all these effects can be used on any layer that you choose. So we're going to add some text here. I don't know, we'll say, I'll keep it PG. And we'll go with my favorite one. If you're curious of what the text is that I usually use, this isn't the text font for Rebel Tech, the logo. That's actually Magneto, I think. I think it's called Magneto. I like that style. We'll just do this quick little side note here for y'all. See, that's the RT in the Rebel Tech logo. But normally what I use is Bolster Bold is my favorite one that I like to use. So if you're curious of what I use. And as far as like adding some lean to it, the Michael Jackson lean, I usually go about 25%. That's just my opinion. But regardless, the way to do this is in Affinity. I don't know how it is in other ones. I assume it's very similar. You have to have, with text, you have to have your selected thing. So whatever your text is. So for example, if you were to want a bevel edge on this, the whole thing, you would select that, see how it's like outlined, and you can give it a little bev here. But the issue is when you go too hard on it with the text, you notice that it starts to bleed out and it looks more like a kind of like a gradient as opposed to a effect on the text itself. Here's another thing. I got white text, and I want a bevel edge. You see it gives it some shadow there, some depth, and some popping. I like it. With white text, I really don't think it works as well. Sometimes with these little holes here that pop through, they pop a little bit more, so maybe it depends on the background you're using. Like if you move it down to like the darker areas, maybe it's a little more appealing, but that's totally up to you. Looking at it now, it's not that bad, and I think if it's a darker background, maybe it will be a little bit more appealing. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Now, one more thing. The last thing I want to do is show you how I use it in a image. Now, of course, I showed you with the edges of the thumbnail. I showed you with the text. Now, I'm going to take my logo, the Rebel Tech logo, and I did this in the most recent stream with my Avengers dot-to-dot art, if you noticed in the thumbnail for that. Let's go find it. It is here, the Rebel Tech logo. And keep the background so that it doesn't look weird with the transparent background. Now you can do it on this. And this concept works for the picture-in-picture, but we'll do that in Premiere Pro. So you take that, and you can mess around with edges of your logo. However you want. How intense you want it, how light you want it. I guess if I was to do this the way I want to, I like the very subtle. You see it just peeking over the edge there. And then you could decide on how intense you want the light. Maybe about there. Now that's on, off, on, off. Very subtle, nothing crazy. So there's your bevel edge on there. Now the last thing, I promise, last thing in Affinity, before we go into Premiere Pro. The addition, this video isn't on this, but the addition and combination of the 3D option is very, very subtle, and it looks pretty freaking cool. If you've seen my Stinger thumbnail and some of my Premiere Pro tutorial thumbnails, I added that to the Premiere Pro logo, and it looks pretty sweet. So if you take this and you just crank it a little bit, and maybe like take some off, put it on, it makes it pop a little more and gives a little 3D action there. So that's on. I turn it off, on, off. Gives a little more pop to it. It's not supposed to stand out too crazy, but maybe it will help. So now let's pop over to Premiere Pro and show you just a quick thing that I use in my end cards and possibly any picture-in-picture you may want to use it in. Okay, so we're in a Premiere Pro in a long-awaited arrival, because it was giving me a little bit of trouble and not being very nice. So you can see here that I got my outro here, and I really only use this beveled edge. Actually, you probably noticed it around me, a very subtle one, because I like to the focus like my hand for a second. It's all kinds of craziness going on, but you probably noticed around me I added a beveled edge. You could have the color of it be purple, so that's the color of the light that's hitting it. So you look here, and Evie's twerking on Big Ben, as we know and love, and everything like that. So that's edge, which is a concept that I want to put into a animated border for my Twitch stream. So that's my border right now, and if you haven't checked it out, I made a border and I showed you guys how to put it in and resize it, all that stuff. So go check that out in this. It might be in this playlist in Affinity. Depends on what playlist. I might be putting this in both, so keep an eye out. So you might notice that this edge here is very, very subtle. It's a black edge, or gray technically. And what it does is it gives you this map of colors that you want for the edge. So if you want a little brighter, you want straight white, you could do this. And you see how it changes the edge like that. And of course, you could do the thickness. You can make it like that, which is a little bit weird. That's 0.5. So you probably want it more. I usually go like 0.2 or 0.02, or 0.03. But if you want to go really crazy, let's go 0.05. And the reason why I'm doing this is to show that it actually has a color. And it's supposed to be subtle. You're not supposed to notice it, but it's supposed to like give a little bit of pop to it. That's the point of this. It's not supposed to be the content is supposed to like complement the content and make it pop a little bit more. So you got a 0.5 here, and for example, if I wanted to make this, I don't know, the Twitch color here, you take that little eyedropper, and yes, that's an eyedropper. At least I hope it's an eyedropper. Dropper? Yes. Eyedropper that kind of like picks the color, and you could pick any color you'd like. And of course, little trick here, if you're looking for a specific color, this compares this is your color that it is, and this is the color that it will be. And you can, little trick here is use the eyedropper here, and you can choose a specific color without having to hunt and peck. It might be, of course, you're picking a color here, and then you could check the intensity of it, be it lighter, darker, whatever it is. But I like to do it this way because it's nice. It's a very subtle concept. So if you want red, for example, there's a red edge, but the problem is it's a little too much. 0.03. That's a little much too. 0.02. All right. So one last thing with the bevel edge, which it's called Beveled Edges. Yes, that's what it's called. I call them Bev Edges because it's just funny. It's the way I think. And I have a bunch of presets, so like Affinity Border Cam, Affinity Beveled Edge 3.5, Beveled Edge 1 and 2. Those are my animated ones where it starts and this actually, if I was to mute this moves. The light source moves. Very subtle, but you notice that it's going around the edge here. And it's slow. I like it. It's pretty cool. Alright, so the last thing I'm gonna do, and I know I said I was gonna show you with a thumbnail, but I'm gonna show you in context as it's showing with the actual videos in its ecosystem. You can see here that I got my AT2020 versus my AT4040 thumbnail here, and it has a beveled edge. And it pops ever so slightly. You see, like all the other ones, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're flat. They're flat edges. There's nothing there. And of course, these are all videos that are flat. See, this one I didn't, this was early on and I didn't add a beveled edge to it, and it's flat compared to this one where I think it pops a little more. And you could also see I did it with the text as well. A little bit of 3D, a little bit of beveled edge, and I like it. I like how the way it looks, and it pops a little more. It's cool. I just like the way it looks. I don't know if it makes much of a difference with people clicking on it, but I like the way it looks, and I really don't think it hurts, so I'm going to continue to do it. And you guys could too. I hope that I see this concept out there more. Okay, so that is the beveled edge. That is the emboss or emboss, whatever. Let me know how it's pronounced, or if you can do that in text form. If you could do that in text form and explain it to me, or like phonetically, or emboss. I think it's emboss, but I call it emboss because I'm dumb and I just don't read right. Also, it sounds funny. So thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, and hopefully maybe it helps your thumbnails, maybe helps your content, and however it may be. This is a little trick, little thing that you might add on. I can't guarantee anything. No guarantees here. Can't say it's going to help you with your click-through rate. Lord knows I don't know how to do that either. I just try to make it as appealing as I can and as clickable as I can, and that's basically it. So hopefully maybe this trend catches on and more people are doing it. So let me know down in the comments if you do use it, and I will check out the thumbnail and give you my take on it. I hope that you guys use it, and I hope that you guys take this advice and put it to use, put it to good use, and have fun with it. That's basically it. Just have fun with it. So like I said, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked that video, please hit the like button down below. It'll be greatly appreciated. It helps this channel grow, this video reach more people, all that stuff. I stream every Wednesday and Saturday, about an hour doing like dot-to-dot art. Then I take a little bit of a break, and then I come back, play video games. So finishing up Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And then I'm going to be playing through Little Nightmares, the first one again. We'll play through the whole game, play through the DLC, and then eventually I'm going to play the second one. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video. Compared, while streaming, compared to others. Oh no! Evie, oh. Evie, why? Evie, why? Evie, why?